What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. T-Shirt, back with another one. Now, in this video, I'm going to be doing a review, but it's not going to be on T-shirts, equipment, vinyl, DTF, nothing like that. But instead, I'm going to review this one cell phone provider which is fairly popular, but constantly dropping the ball with their customers. Now, you may be saying to yourself, T, what does this have to do with T-shirt printing or apparel? Well, you might not realize it, but you can't run a successful business if your customers can't get in contact with you, or you're spending hours troubleshooting with a cell phone company when you can be working on your business. In other words, losing valuable time and money. Now, I'm not usually the type to give a bad review, but when a business which makes millions, even billions every year can't provide the service that they offer their customers, then something must be said and done. The cell phone company I'm talking about in this video is one that I'm sure many of you have or used to have and switched because of the poor service. The name of this company is Verizon. When you watch their commercials, they promise lightning speed, nationwide coverage, exceptional customer service, and all the bells and whistles. Well, Verizon has displayed everything else but those things. Later on in this video, I'll even play a piece of a conversation I had with one of their reps, but let me first tell you why I had to make this video. Now, I've been with my previous carrier for about 15 years now, and just last year, with inflation and everything going on with the economy, I just said to myself, let me see where in my business as well as my personal life, I can maybe save a few dollars. So I said, let me start with my cell phone service. So I called up Verizon and let them know I'm currently with such and such, and I'm thinking about switching. What do you have to offer as far as business accounts? So they told me I'm able to get 2 new phones, 2 watches, and 2 tablets for less than what I was currently paying with my previous carrier. I said, sounds good, sign me up, let's get the ball rolling. So of course I'm expecting the first bill to be the highest with the activation fees and all the charges and all the extras that they charge you when your first bill comes, which was fine. I get the bill, I pay it, the next month my bill was wrong because they said I never sent in my old devices, which I did. Come to find out, it just didn't update in their system. So then the next month now, still the bill was not what I agreed on, and every month since. Now, this was August of last year, so 2022, when I got service with Verizon. So I haven't even had my business account service for a whole year yet, and every other week I'm on the phone with Verizon. Let's talk about their customer service, in which you can never get an extension number, a name, a phone number, nothing. So every time I call, I either get disconnected. Oh yeah, that's another thing they're famous for, where you have to call back and explain the whole story over and over and over again to several different people, which is very frustrating. And all you keep hearing is, I'm sorry for your inconvenience and understand your frustration. The problem I realized with Verizon is that their customer service reps are all over the world based on their accents. Therefore, their computer systems don't keep track of customers' inbound calls, so another rep can see what the previous problem was, which would save the customer frustration and time from having to repeat themselves every time they called. So in return, they play the transfer game, meaning they transfer you to this person and that person with no resolution to the problem. Recently, I was on my way home from work, called my wife, and I hear, you've reached Verizon Financial Department. That's right, they shut off my service. And the reason why, I don't know, because my bill was fully paid and up to date. So I call them up again, and they tell me I have a past balance of $53 due on the account. Now, before I explain this $53, how many of you ever had anything turned off because you owed $53? Now, I understand if you're behind 1 or 2 months of a full payment, but seriously, $53 from a company as huge and big as Verizon? Nevertheless, here's the story about the $53. They told me in order to get the price that was offered to me in the beginning, I would have to remove the insurance, in which I wasn't happy with because, again, this is not what I agreed on. My plan and price was to cover everything, including insurance, taxes, fees, etc. But I said, fine, cancel the insurance, because if not, I would be basically paying what I was paying with my previous carrier. Then the rep had promised to credit my account $90 for my inconvenience and would be applied to my account. The very next day, my wife gets a message threatening to turn off service. Again, we call and they tell us the credit hasn't gone through yet, so the service was interrupted. Meanwhile, they can see that the credit is pending for approval. So why would you terminate a service, again, for $53? For $53, that was an error on their part. Okay, so they go into the account and they see that the $90 credit is pending. So if they can see the credit is pending, why is my service off? A couple days later, I go into a corporate store because I'm able to make calls, but we can't get any internet service once we leave the shop or the house. I speak to the manager at the store, and he calls and speaks to their reps. And after back and forth, trying to reboot, switching SIM cards and all that good stuff, still no resolution. The rep in the store then tells me that there's been some towers down in the area. So I asked them, do they have problems with their phones and service when they leave the Verizon store? And they say no. And they have the same service that I do. So honestly, what towers are down? Again, the reason I'm sharing my experience with you guys is because I'm a strong believer of time is money. And as you can see, I spent a lot of time talking to Verizon every other day to their reps to get nowhere. Meanwhile, I have new orders coming in. I have orders waiting here in the shop to get done. But instead, I have been on the phone with this company all these hours every other day. My final straw was to ask, how can we leave Verizon? And of course, they try every which way to try to keep you. Not to mention, it took me 20 minutes to convince the rep on the phone just to put me through to her supervisor. Matter of fact, let's play that audio now. Now, this is simply me asking to speak to a supervisor and a perfect example of their customer service. Now you've wasted 20 minutes of my time just to ask for a supervisor.
I'm telling you that we have other options.
I don't want another option. The only option I'm asking you for is to speak.
You can do it.
That's not what I'm asking you. That's not what I'm asking you. The only option is for me to speak to a supervisor. Why do I have to go through this with Verizon?
And why do you want to?
I want to speak to a supervisor. That's what I want to do. So anything else you're about to ask me, it shouldn't have been. You know the reason.
We have other options.
No, you don't have other options. You don't have other options. You're out of options. You're out of options. You're 10 months out of options. We've been going through this since we had the service.
If you return those devices, you're not going to be charged.
I'm not asking you that. I want to speak to a supervisor.
It's going to tell you the same.
I'm not. Are you a supervisor? How do you know what somebody else is going to tell me? Can you put a supervisor on the phone?
Okay.
After going through all this, my wife then filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau. Immediately, within a couple of hours, she received a message from one of the executives over at Verizon asking her to give her back a call at her earliest convenience and that she'd be available. And if she did miss the call, she would return the call. However, my wife called back the executive and left a message letting her know that she's available to talk right now. I believe that was on Friday. Today is Tuesday. And yet and still, we have not gotten a call back from Verizon. But the good part is, at the end of this all, we're no longer with Verizon. We switched our carrier. The transition was nice and smooth. We don't owe Verizon anything. And unfortunately, they lost another good customer. Not only did they lose a customer, but they lost a business account. Now, I know some of you may be saying, Verizon doesn't care. They have millions of customers, but that's not the point. The point is you have to do right by your customers. If you offer something, you have to follow through, proceed, and deliver on your promise. Okay, that goes from big companies like Verizon to small businesses. Customer service is everything. You don't want your customer having to go through situations like what I had to go through, me and my wife had to go through for these past 10 months with a company such as Verizon. Now again, this video wasn't geared towards t-shirts or machines or equipment, nothing like that. But in all actuality, it has to do with business because communication is a key part of a successful business. So if your customers can't communicate with you, you can't communicate with your customers, you're getting delayed emails, delayed text messages. It just looks very unprofessional. And having your customers wait extra time because you didn't receive a message, it leaves a bad taste in the customer's mouth about doing business with you. Thankfully, I didn't lose any customers. I didn't lose any orders. But at the end of the day, if I continue to let this go on and on and on, then who's to say what would happen in the future? All right. So I just want to thank you guys for listening to my, I guess, little rant on Verizon. And hopefully this will help you guys make a decision if you're on the cell phone market or you're looking for a carrier. This will help you make a better decision on what cell phone carrier service not to get and what company not to use. And again, your best bet, stay away from Verizon. As usual, it's been your boy, Mr. T-Shirt, signing off. Peace.